The widow continued to tell her husband's story, pausing from time to time to sip water. The smell of cooking wafted from nearby houses. Pontius enjoyed sports. When he was 9 years old, he had 3 close friends. They were all about the same age. If I saw one of them in the streets, usually I would see all of them. Pontius was good looking, but it was one of his friends, Marcus, that I had a small crush on. He was a bit older than the others. He was the strongest and very handsome. He was closer to my age. Marcus and Pontius competed ardently. Those 4 friends might be walking along the beach and one would bolt from the pack. What started as a stroll turned into a race. They panted along the beach, dodging sea surges, or if the surge was shallow, they splashed their bare feet through it. Near the town, a small island rose out of the sea. It had 2 sand beaches that were backed by cliffs that rose no higher than twice the height of a tall man. People would row to the island to be alone or to share private time with a friend or 2. If they wanted to gaze upon the endless sea, they pulled their boats onto the sand of the beach on the distant side of the island. The near-side beach had a view of the town and the hills that towered over it. One day, Pontius and his friends decided to swim to the island. It was just close enough for that, for good swimmers. The boys stripped off their clothes and charged into the sea. Naturally, the swim turned into a race. At first, all swam toward the island arm over arm. Alexander, who was smallest, tired and switched to an underwater stroke. Julius soon did the same thing. Marcus and Pontius tired too, but they kept swimming with strong arm-over-arm strokes. Their shoulders ached, and they could scarcely make their arms keep churning through the water. But then they got a second wind, and they kept going at top speed. Marcus reached the beach ahead of Pontius. One by one, the boys staggered out of the sea. They threw themselves face down onto the warm sand. The grains of sand clung to their wet bodies. The sun baked their backsides. For a time they lay there, naked and unashamed. When they sat up, Marcus told about passing on a path by a wealthy man's house. He heard strange noises on the other side of the garden wall. Curious, he climbed a tree to see what was going on from his high vantage point. He watched the wealthy man and a maid, shall we say, enjoying each other's company very much. As he told the story, the others started to titter. That encouraged Marcus. He elaborated what he saw and heard in a way that made the boys guffaw. In fact, soon they howled with laughter. When Marcus could supply no more details for the amusement of his friends, their talk turned to girls. They said who they thought was pretty, who was nice. They compared the merits and demerits of one girl to another. The debate went on for a good amount of time. Each boy had strong opinions. They teased Alexander about being so bashful around girls. Around boys he could talk, but around girls it was like his tongue had a cramp. "I can't help it," he mourned. "It's just the way I am." Marcus proposed a contest. He said they should see who could do a handstand the longest. Each in turn would do a handstand while another boy counted. The other two boys would use their hands to steady the legs of the boy doing the handstand. Julius went first. He held his handstand to a count of 20. Alexander held his to a count of 18. Pontius earlier had lost the race to the island. He felt strong, self-imposed pressure not to lose twice in a row. He held his handstand so long that his arms trembled beneath him. After a count of 35, he collapsed into the sand. Marcus went last. Alexander counted, and Pontius and Julius steadied his legs. Pontius on the left and Julius on the right. When Alexander started to count, Pontius looked down toward Marcus's body. He said, "When we swim back, let's try to stay away from any dolphins." Julius asked why. "Because they eat sardines." The boys laughed. Marcus fell onto the sand. From the top of the low cliffs above them, the boys heard girlish laughter. They looked up just in time to see the backs of two girls running away. Alexander shrieked and dashed into the sea. The others chased behind him. Back in town at the beach, the boys dressed and skulked to their houses. Each dreaded the mortification that must come when the details of their private words and deeds spread across town. But days passed. To their great relief, they detected no tremor of cruel rumor. It continued to be a matter of debate and speculation among them. Who had spied upon them, and what kept the spies silent? They evaluated the eyes of every girl they passed in the streets. They looked for any hint of secret mirth. They hunted for any haughty tell that said, "I could say something that would destroy you if I chose to." But what would they have gained by that knowledge, except to gain the answer to a mystery that concerned them? I'm not sure they could have answered that question. The widow paused. Then she said, "There's more to this island story, but look, here's my daughter-in-law. She's back from the market with bread." This is the end of chapter 2.